A 3 million market cap. There's a lot of companies of this size talking a similar game. What's going to help you guys stand out from the rest?
We got some very, very exciting results going up to 95% recovery. And we know that we have a sizable resource. We know that we can double, if not even triple that resource. So it's going to become a very large deposit one way or the other.
Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thanks so much for watching this video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up and do leave your comments below. Helps us understand the types of questions you'd like us to ask, how we're doing, and indeed what you think of the company. And if you haven't already done so, click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, for more videos like this, click the notification bell. We spoke earlier today to Pierre Léveillé, who is the CEO of Deep South Resources. They're an early stage explorer looking for copper in Namibia. Now, it's quite tough at this stage of exploration because you don't have much money. You're trying to do quite a lot. You're trying to change the world. These guys are down to the last 200,000 bucks. Their market cap is 3 million, so raising money is going to be quite expensive. They need about 7 million bucks drawn down over a series of steps, which we discuss with Pierre. Take a look in the description below at some of the other topics discussed. Anything interests you in particular, you can click on the timestamp. I'll take you to that part of the video, but let's enjoy what Pierre had to say. Hello, Pierre. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, and yourself?
All good. We are at home talking to lots of people all around the world like you. I guess you'd rather be in the field than there, but here we are. Now, there's a news story for our viewers and followers, so would you mind giving us a 1-minute overview, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Deep South is a TSX-V listed company since about 3 years. We are pretty tightly held. Our largest shareholder are the management and some directors with 21%, 23%, sorry. And Teck Resources with 23%. Our main project is a copper porphyry exploration project in Namibia, in the Southern African region. It's most probably the largest porphyry in Africa, and it's most probably one of the oldest, if not the oldest in the world. Makes that it's a bit different. The geology is not exactly the same to typical porphyry we're used to see. We're just completing an updated PEA that will be disclosed soon. And we're at a stage where we are near of going into feasibility studies. So for at least on a part of the deposit. The deposit is at the moment about 1 billion tons of ore. Low grade, of course, it's a porphyry at 0.31% copper, but there's a pretty high grade section in the center of the deposit, which is 140 million ton. And we will focus our efforts for the time being and going forward to develop that part first.
Okay.
So that's where we stand with the project.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you're very early stage, obviously, exploration, copper exploration. It's a very low market cap, 3-4 million, depending on the day of the week. So there's very little for people to go on. So can you help me? Can you tell me a little bit about your background and the background of the active members of the team in terms of creating shareholder value and wealth previously?
Originally in my career, I'm not a technical guy. I'm a finance guy. I was a stockbroker and a investment banker in Canada. I was raising funds for the exploration industry north of Quebec, north of Ontario, up to mid-90s, where I decided to take over the control of one listed company that was having a small project in Ghana. And the idea at that point was to develop some project in Africa. That period, I was one of the very few in North America thinking like this. And through the time, we've made a first deal in Namibia in 1996, and then I stayed involved in Namibia since that time. I even lived in Namibia with my family for 3 years early in the 2000s. I developed a very serious network in Namibia and in South Africa also. I'm very involved in South Africa on the financial side and mining side. That's about it. I've raised money and made deals all over Africa, but mainly in the southern part of Africa. since 1996. So it's really it's really my turf. I'm still spending quite a lot of time there. Of course, at that time, I met quite a lot of good people in Namibia. And our chairman on Deep South is Mr. John Aquanier, who was a retired lawyer. He's pretty well into all the political side and the social side in Namibia. He has been named by the president of the country as chairman of the National Airport Corporation. He's also sitting on the board of PE Minerals, which is the license holder for the Rashpina mine that is mined by Trevally. It's a zinc mine. So John has a certain experience also on the mining side. I'm also supported by Vivian Stewart Williams, who is a 45 years of experience mainly in Africa. He's based in Cape Town. Viv has lived in Namibia also many years. He knows geology in Namibia like no one else, and he's involved with time to time, and now more full time with us with the Haib Copper project since the mid-90s. We also recently had 2 board members that have joined the management team. Jean-Luc Roy, who was what we call a chief expertise officer. Jean-Luc has spent 30 years of his career in Africa, managed mine in DRC for 7 years for First Quantum. He has managed mines also in Burkina Faso. He was COO of Impella, which was a subsidiary of Centamin, and he was highly involved in West Africa at that period of time. So he has quite a lot of experience in developing mines and operating mines. We have also been joined by Paul Smith, who was a South African, and Paul was geologist and metallurgist by training, but has been involved in managing projects and for many years. He has also been involved in the financial side and raising money as a stockbroker, but also as an investment banker for a large firm in South Africa. His last large project, he was COO of Wee Platinum, and he was instrumental with his team to develop and build a $1.5 billion platinum mine, which is a pretty good success, still operating well today. So it's so that's the team around me. It's we have as you can see a lot of African expertise and very strong technical expertise also.
Okay, brilliant. So you have been there for 3 years, or been doing this for 3 years in this guise. You've brought in some people recently, and Paul's a recent addition, I believe,
Yes.
to this. So can you explain to me what it is that you're trying to build here? Because I say at 3 million market cap, there's a lot of companies of this size talking a similar game, but what I need to do is trying to understand from you what's going to help you guys stand out from the rest. So what are you building?
The idea is the following. It's like we know that despite the COVID-19, copper will eventually turn around and will be a very good market. There's a lot of needs for copper and even more post-COVID-19. We know that the production is going down, not only because shutdowns of COVID-19, it was like this since many years. The production of many mines is lowering. The grades of production are going down substantially also. In 2018, the average grade of production in the world for copper, including open cast and underground mine, was 0.53% copper. It's extremely low compared to 8% 100 years ago. So we see it's going down, and we see the feasibility study at the moment. The average grade is 0.38%. So our 0.31% is not so far of the average of the pack. We look at it the following way: is the copper will need to be mined, and we know that there's mostly only lower grade projects that are left on the planet to be brought to production. So it's technology oriented. And the question is the following, and that's what we have asked ourselves. Do we have a technology to extract the metal at low capex and low opex? If we have that, we have a project. If we don't have that, we don't have a project. And looking at all the database, because it's an old project, there's 66,000 meters of drilling. There's a lot of geotechnical work that has been done, geophysical survey, name it. It's full of data, and we have all that data. We also have the cores on site, all well preserved. So we have a serious geological base to that. So the idea is the following: now that we know we have we have looked at all the metallurgical tests that have been done in the past, and we realized that bio-assisted leaching was working very well with that ore. So what we decided to do last year is to do our own metallurgical test with bio-assisted leaching, because the previous one was dating back to 2003. So that's pretty far ago. So we did our own test, and we got some very, very exciting result, going up to 95% recovery, which is very good. Now, this being said, now we have that test. It's a small scale test. We will need to develop around that. And we know that we have a sizable resource. We know that we can double, if not even triple that resource. So it's going to become a very large deposit one way or the other. And we know in the center of the deposit, we have a section that is 140 million tons. And we can focus on that because we have a better grade in that area. We have some drilling showing extension like 150 meter at 0.68%, another 100 meter at 0.81%, and so on. So we see that there's a lot of high-grade patch in that area. So we are now focusing on going into feasibility study in that specific section. And that's going to be a starting point. That's going to be the starting pit. And we know we will have a better grade, substantially higher than what we see in the overall deposit. And we just now need the money to go and infill drill that area. And on the base of these results, we will continue to move forward in doing more metallurgical work. And after that, start, design engineering for an eventual feasibility study.
Okay, before we kind of get into the theory of how this happens, I want to know precisely what you're going to do. So you say you're going to need some money to maybe look at this slightly higher grade zone. You need to do some infill drilling there. So today, how much cash have you got?
At the moment, we're at about $200,000 Canadian.
Right.
So it's not enough to start drilling. It's just enough to make the company continue to live for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to need to raise some capital at the moment. And clearly, if I look at the share price for the last year and a half, it's not a pretty picture. So do you think that you're starting to get any traction in the market? Are people listening to this story of a low grade bulk operation? And if they are, how much money do you need to raise just to be able to move it forward to the next phase of this to complete this infill drilling?
What we see and what we were seeing before the crash in the market, as we were going up and up with a lot more interest, because the metallurgical tests have given some very exciting results, and we have announced that we were updating our pre-feasibility and our preliminary economic assessment, our PA, that was done in 2018. So there was a lot of interest onto that, and we were seeing the share price moving up. We were having also quite substantial interest for financing, mainly from Europe. We've done a roadshow in Europe at the end of February, and there was a lot of interest. The interest is still there, but most of the people are on the sideline, which is understandable. And you don't try to pick up a knife that goes down, with your hand. So that's a feeling at the moment. So so it has slowed down a bit the what we need to do now. If we want to go to the end of a feasibility study on that specific high grade area, it's going to be at a cost of about $7 million US. But this is being done in steps. Step number one is infill drilling, for which we need $2 million US. Step number two is to do more metallurgical work and more work around that, all the distribution. We will declare a measured resource. So there's a lot of, desktop study to be done at that point also. So another $1 million. And then after that, another $4 million will come in step by step to do design engineering for feasibility study, the feasibility study, environmental impact study, and all of this. So as you can see, yes, it's our market cap is low. But we don't need to raise all the money in one shot. The other thing we were having before COVID is we have signed NDAs with 9 private equity and or mid-sized mining companies that have done a pretty thorough investigation of our data in our data room. And they are all awaiting still the PEA that will come soon. So it could end up that we have a deal with one of these companies that will change a little bit the face of the way that we will need to raise money. Or it will be equity in the project, or it will be equity in the company, or a mix of the two. It's things have to be discussed. It's we're not at the stage of commercial discussion, but we arrive to a point where they look at the PEA. If some of them want to step up, then we will. I would say within the next month we will have a pretty good idea if we have some traction on the commercial side with them. Okay. There was some traction before COVID. Now we'll see.
And what type of deals are you looking for? Are you looking for like farm-in partners, or are you looking for strategic partners? Are you looking for just dumb money? I mean, what's going to work for you?
Now you're asking people that are begging for money. You ask them, okay, what meal do you want? It's like what we want to have is a proposal first. Then we will see if it could make sense for our shareholders and stakeholders. I would say that we're open to all of these potential deals. Whether it's a farm-in, whether it's a part equity in the company, equity in the project, where there's a lot of ways that we can look at that.
But what I'm trying to get at, Pierre, what I'm trying to understand, Pierre, is your mindset. Would you, because you've inherited a lot of data, you've done your 3D modeling, you've identified a interesting part of this ore body, you know what you want to do. Do you want to carry on with the exploration component and develop this yourself? Or do you say, well, actually, what's best for the shareholders, we'll bring a partner in who's got money, we'll let them do this, and we can go and identify new targets? I mean, what's going on up there?
At the moment, if we were having all the money we need, we would prefer to complete that feasibility study ourselves. We think we have internally the right people to do it, and we have the right vision to develop it correctly. So we would like to do that. Now, it's not certain after that we will be the one that will bring that to production. We're an exploration company. We're not a mining company. So, there's going to be a time where we will have to decide to let it go to some companies who are better suited than us to do that. Now, if we have to leave it to a partner earlier because the market is difficult, we cannot raise funds easier, yes, we will consider that. It's not an ego game here. It's a question of getting the project, moving forward to all the stakeholders and our shareholders.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier to me that the management team has 21% of the company today, which is a lot as a percentage. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily today a lot in terms of dollar value, but for instance, how much have you put into the company? I want to see how much you believe in this project. So how much have you put into this company?
Personally, $200,000 US before we are listed. Myself, John Aquanier, and a couple of others, we were investing money to follow up with Teck before we get the project listed. And so in terms of real cash, if I look at it all together, we probably invested $700,000 US before we are listed.
Okay, and Teck's just a sort of legacy because they were involved with the project prior to you getting involved, so they've just rolled over.
Not exactly.
How's it worked?
Not exactly. We, as a private Namibian company, we acquired the project in 2004. Okay, so it's a pretty good number of years ago, 16 years in fact. And then we did a deal with a couple of smaller companies, one in the AIM market that has gone belly up. And it's like it was not so easy. And in 2008, we had an option and joint venture agreement with Teck. And Teck spent about $2.7 million to acquire 70%, which they did in 2011. So in 2011, Teck were owning 70% of the project. We were holding 30%. And from that point on, we have developed the project together up to 2016. We have added $5 million on, okay? And then in 2016, Teck were starting to have some problems with that project, which were not technical or geological. First, their executive management was putting pressure on the exploration department to acquire more projects because that was the goal. They were established in Namibia and they were supposed to acquire a certain number of projects of a certain critical mass. They were there since over 10 years and that was not done. They were still having only the Haib project. Despite the fact that they have turned every rock down in South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, they were not successful at doing this. So for the executive management, it was not making sense to have only one project exploration in Africa when all their operations are on the west coast of the Americas. So, and on the other side, the Ministry of Mines also in Namibia was starting to put pressure and saying, yeah, we would like to see some development on that. You know, a PEA, a PFS, do something, you know, don't do only exploration. And they were not ready to do that because their development department was full with other projects. So they were feeling that they were probably in danger of losing something in that project. So they decided that the best way to keep a footprint in the project was to let us take it and drive it. And as the Namibian specialist also, we would be able to do a better job than them on that side. So that's where we did that deal where they became, at that time, they were our largest shareholder. And they are now a shareholder in Deep South, but Deep South owns 100% of the project.
Got it, understood. Can I ask, so I know a little bit about Namibia. It's a good jurisdiction for mining, so I won't, talk to you about that. But are you under any pressure from the Minister of Mines to get on with things? I mean, you've been sitting on this asset for a long time. What are they saying to you?
No, we're not under pressure, but it's important that we show them that we advanced the project, and that's what we did in the past 3 years. And we came in and we showed them that we were coming with a different view, that Teck were going into a path, and we decided to go into another path. Teck were there more for keeping the project long term and then wait for a better price of copper to do a very large cap operation at some point in time. And they were in need of a very high price of copper. So on our side, as you can see, we have decided to smaller the scale of that, look at the higher grade area, and start doing some development work on it. So a PEA, then we've done some metallurgical work, an updated PEA is coming. Then we've told them that we move slowly, we move to a feasibility study, and they're happy with that. But it's important for us to move forward in that direction. Of course, at the moment with COVID-19, they will understand that things have slowed down for a certain period of time, but we don't feel any pressure with that. It's, but they want to see things moving, which is correct. But there's no specific engagement whereby we need to do this or that, or unless we can lose the license or anything like this. There's not that kind of discussions between us.
Okay, and in terms of your preferred strategy, which is to take a look at this 148, so this higher grade part of the ore body, the conversations that you are having, you're telling me you're having with European funders or strategics, do they buy into that strategy, or are there any groups in there who are looking for a larger ore body to go after? I mean, what? Tell me a little bit about those conversations, because I'm always intrigued as to what is capable of getting funded. And if it's a small project, it can be good because you may get into production quicker there. But is it enough to get into economic production? If it's focused on the larger ore body, then it may attract a different type of investor. So what are the sort of debates that you're having internally about how to go about moving this forward?
The idea is the following, is that we don't discard the large deposit. We don't discard the fact that we have a huge potential, and we show the potential where it is, where we can increase the tonnage. We still have that in mind. The idea is the following. There's two folds. The first one is that one way or the other, we will need to start somewhere, even if we keep the large deposit. And we will certainly do as all the mining companies would do, is to start with where you have higher grade to make sure you make your payback the fastest way possible. So you would focus on that specific higher grade area. In our case, what we've decided to do is to split that in two sections in the sense that we, without discarding the large deposit, we would not do a feasibility study on the large deposit at the moment. We would do it just on the higher grade section, which will become the starting pit. Then when you start producing, then you have cash flow running, and then you can take care of developing properly the balance of it. And mining lower grade, if you mine, let's say 7 years in the higher grade section, and after 3.5 years you have done your payback, then you're at full profit, then mining the lower grade area is not the same issue. It's an issue if you start mining it today, but it's not an issue if you start mining it, the same issue if you start mining it in 7 years, because your profit is not the same than it would be today. Your capitalization has been reimbursed. So what we do in effect, it's just to focus on that starting pit, and we will keep the rest for later development. And we have been told by many people, and the people that have signed these NDAs looking at the project, that for them, in a way, it's the right way to develop the project. And the second thing is that it's heap leaching. And heap leaching, we know that, yes, it's low CapEx, yes, it's low OpEx, but it's very important to be well calibrated, and you're always better starting on a slower and smaller size to be able to adjust anything you need to adjust on the way. Because just imagine that you have stacks of rock, let's say piled up 20 meter high, 300 meter long by 100 meter large. Imagine that there's a blockage in the middle of the stack. What can you do? Nothing. You're stuck. You're stuck with the problem, So you need to start smaller scale, and then you can improve or increase the size, when you move forward, and make sure you do all the engineering adjustment, make sure that you have the most performing operation.
Okay, thank you for that. It's always interesting to hear the challenges internally, the things that you're discussing internally. But on 2nd of April, you announced you closed a private placement in advance of updating the 2018 PEA. So remind me how much you raised?
539 plus 64. Sorry,
say
it's
600.
about 600,000 Canadian.
Let's say just over 600.
From December to the end of January.
Right, and you burnt your way through a lot of it. You've got 200 left. So when do you next need to raise money? Are you going to go out and just try and raise this 2 million in one go, or do you need some more money to keep the lights on between now and then?
Both.
Both.
We need some money to keep the lights on, but if we can get the 2 million, it's it's going to be fine.
Obviously,
we don't have a big burn rate. It's not an issue because even the management team, we see a lot of people, but some of them have postponed their payments until we are capable of paying. If we're not capable of paying, it will be transferred in shares. So we have a very low burn rate, but we need to do some work around the project if we want to be able to package it correctly and promotion. We'll do a right promotion with it. So we will need to raise another couple of 100,000, but if we can raise the $2 million one shot, we will do it.
Okay, so management is being sensible with regards to salaries or deferring salaries and taking paper instead, because you're an exploration company. Okay, well, look, Pierre, why don't we leave it there, because I'm excited about what you said. You've got an updated PEA coming out soon. I think maybe we should talk then, because I think you'll have, well, hopefully have something positive to say from that, and that might give us a bit more of an indication of how you're going to move this forward. Yes,
I'll be happy to talk to you again. It will be my pleasure. One thing I can mention just before closing about our management, one of our guys, Paul Smith, to not name him, said once, he said, exploration company, we try to change the world with no money. So at some point in time, we cannot go in the kitty and be paid ourselves on top.
Well, good.
So that's the way we see our action with that company.
Well, good. Not everyone thinks that way, so I'm glad to hear that. Pierre, I thank you for your time. I wish you and your family all the best, and stay safe, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yes, thank you.